Stardust and tar. Okay, so
that's the beginning of the episode, by the way.
Hey, Maniacs.
Hey, Maniacs.
Midsomer Maniacs.
Midsomer Maniacs is a comedy recap podcast dedicated to the ITV series Midsomer Murders. Each week we dig into the episode of the show, including the murders, the mayhem, the loonies, and everything else we love. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah. And you know who else we love?
Who else do we love?
All the folks who showed up last week for our live stream. You guys were fabulous.
Was crazy incredible.
We had so much fun.
I read the entire chat transcript twice. Because I'm a nerd.
It was so cool, though. Everybody came out. It was super fun. And man, I think we found more Easter eggs in that episode than the people who wrote it meant to put in. We invented some because we're maniacs like that.
Yep. I'm okay with that.
We found some stuff.
Speaking of, I now know who lost the dog.
Who lost the dog?
Yeah, on the sign.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
Well, did you see Guys and Dolls is still going?
Guys and Dolls.
It's the longest running show in Costin, I think.
That whole last scene is like some Mark service right there. It's not fan service, it's Mark service.
Specifically for you. They put the bulletin boards in there.
Yep.
Oh, just a couple of reminders up the top. If you buy anything from the Spreadshirt store, all the profits are going to the World Central Kitchen.
Yes.
To feed people who are in the Ukraine and fleeing the Ukraine.
If you want to learn more about them, go to wck.org. They have all the relevant information right up front.
People are buying some stuff and it's great. And we're gonna match anything that we make off of that before we send it off. So
we are selling like hotcakes.
It's great.
Hot cakes.
We do have, some pretty good designs in there. I do have to say.
Think so, but
just saying.
The Bernie the Badger design is
flying off the shelf.
Flying off the shelf.
Because it's awesome.
It is indeed awesome.
Speaking of causes that we care about, you guys have passions. We have passions. We share those. Things that are important to you are important to us. And one of the topics that's come up recently and some posts that we've received, messages we've received are concerns about trans people and trans kids specifically. We are parents of a trans kid. And so it's really important to us. And just this week, we had a close call here in Indiana where the legislation tried to pass to ban trans girls from competing on girls' sports teams in schools. And luckily, the governor vetoed it, but I don't think it's dead.
The poor trans woman college athlete who won the swimming competition, who basically was isolated. I just felt so bad for her.
Yeah, it just makes me mad.
Yep.
Just be nice to people.
Just accept people for who they are.
It's not hurting you.
No.
Jeez.
Not at all. Jeez.
People got to be so uptight about stuff. Leave people
Silly.
alone. Just leave them alone.
Leave them alone.
That's what they do in Midsomer. You just leave them alone.
Leave them alone.
Unless they're a killer.
Or
a comic book artist, apparently.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. Another thing that's been taking up your time is...
Well, you know me. I get into stuff. I get obsessed with something for a little bit and then I move on to something else.
Yes.
And I listen to a lot of podcasts. I know I've mentioned that. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and stuff because lately I've been quilting quite a bit. I'm making some quilts for some people at work who are having bibbits. And I started listening to the best podcast that I don't know how I hadn't seen it before because they've been putting out episodes for a couple of years.
Oh, really?
So I should have known about it, but I didn't know about it. And so I want to recommend it. It's called The Mysterious Case of Fred the Head.
Fred the Head.
Which sounds silly.
It sounds, okay, this is going to sound weird, but it sounds American, but it's British.
It's British, and it's not silly. Unfortunately, Fred the Head is the unfortunate name given to an unidentified body that was found in Burton-on-Trent, which is kind of like right in the middle of England back in 1971.
If you know this story or know what happens, don't tell us.
There's nothing to give away.
Okay.
Oh, believe me. But what's so intriguing about it is the host of the podcast, Ken Davies, is not a cop. He's not an investigative journalist. He is a regular guy who moved to this area a few years ago, heard about this case, got intrigued, and when COVID hit, decided he was going to try his hand at a little amateur investigation to at least identify who this victim is so that his family would know what happened to him. And now he's been doing it for 2 years, and you get to hear the phone calls he makes to people who may have been around at the time that this murder happened, which is in the late 60s.
Yep.
And you get to hear all the dead ends that he tries, and he goes to archives and he digs stuff up and he tries to read newspapers and he wrestles with microfiche and all kinds of stuff. It's, if you've ever fantasized about solving a crime on your own, this is the reality of what it would really be like to do it and how hard it is, but also how awesome it is.
See, I love that we can produce this stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
We can produce a podcast that people all over the world listen to out of our office in our home in Bloomington. And he can produce that out of his home in England. I just think that through distribution and ease of technology now, it's just spectacular.
It's crazy. He has phone calls with people who live in Australia and Hamburg and Hungary and all over the place. Because
if you would have told a wee Mark that I would have a podcast that spoke to hundreds of thousands of people, and
not hundreds of thousands, hundreds and thousands
of people
all the
over
way
the
to
world.
Abu Dhabi and South Africa and everywhere else. Yeah. It's amazing.
I just would have been absolutely stunned.
But I have to recommend, I'm going to tell you, it gets a little plotting in places because he runs down every possible lead to its dead end.
But see, that's interesting.
But I think it's really interesting. Again, it's called The Mysterious Case of Fred the Head. I've been listening to it on Stitcher. I know it's available on Apple Podcasts and other places. I highly recommend it.
We have for you today, episode 119, Drawing Dead. I don't like this title.
No.
I don't like this title. Season 20, episode 3. We have 4 episodes in season 20 left to do. So that's episodes 119. That's this one. 120, 121, 122, and 123.
And then we catch up with ourselves.
Then we're caught up to the mini episodes, which is going to be weird because we're going to be talking about an episode that we've seen in the mini episode, but we don't talk about it like we've seen it. Oh, it's just so strange.
Well, when we covered him in the mini episode, we didn't give away any spoilers.
No spoilers.
Right? So we didn't get to talk about who the killer was or anything like that. And we get to do that now when we get to those. I think it'll be fun. But we will have to listen to our own podcast before we start recording those because we need to know what we said before.
Yes, we do. And,
I'm so glad my notes are searchable. I got to tell you.
Miniature Murders is not the first one of that season. It's the dancing one.
Ah, good.
So
that'll be fun.
Yeah. The dancing one was awesome.
But this week we get to talk about Drawing Dead.
Yes.
The comic book convention one.
UK broadcast date, 19th of May, 2019. Filmed in May and June 2017, 4.76 million views. Written by Toby Frau and written by Jeff Poveri and directed by Tony Frau.
Right off the bat, I have to say that when I saw this episode for the first time and I saw Bill Bailey, I freaked out. I went total fangirl squee. Oh my gosh, it's Bill Bailey. It's Bill Bailey. They so underuse him, and that's okay. He can't be funny. Midsummer's not slapstick. But if you've never seen Bill Bailey before, who plays the comic book artist, Darwin Chipping in this episode, if you're not familiar with him, you need to Google him. Pause us and go search for him and watch some of his comedy. He is so funny.
And he's incredibly talented.
Oh my gosh, yes. He's musical and just hilarious. And he was in Hot Fuzz and Black Books and Spaced and so many things.
Yeah.
He's very serious in this episode, but that's the role that they gave him. So.
He is super serious in this episode, but he is to me, the quintessential Bill Bailey is the piano episode of Black Books.
Yes.
It may be the funniest half-hour show I've ever seen in my life.
It is. when he's trapped hiding in the piano and he ends up playing it from the inside. It's so funny. Just thinking about it.
And he's on QI and all that.
Oh, yeah. He's great. So if you're not familiar with him, go look him up. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Put Bill Bailey in your life because he's great. He's so great. This is also the episode where we get Winter cosplaying.
Yes.
Which is epic, too.
It's a comic book episode, but it's a weird thing because they obviously want to talk about comic books and talk about the genre of comic books and the production of comic books and all that stuff. Stuff I'm intimately familiar with.
Really?
But they can't use any characters.
Right, any real comics at all.
So in the script, they had at least 3 characters that they made for the script.
Yeah.
And then the production department made other characters.
Like the character that Winter is dressed up as, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the ones they made up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody is cosplaying as these characters.
It's really not a convention for all comics. It's a convention for Darwin Chipping's comics.
Which he has, one of the issues has a 48 on it. Like it's issue 48. He has produced a lot of comics and they're all his. And there's like, I guess he's the sole publisher of these comics because it's Darwin Comics. He should be, okay, I always say you don't
He's
get into
the Stan
comics.
Lee of Midsomer. Is that what you're saying?
You don't get into comics to make money, but he should have more money than he has.
And you think he doesn't have money because of what, his jacket or what? What are you basing that on?
It's weird, like...
Because you've seen Alan Moore. Alan Moore has plenty of money, and he still looks like a hobo.
That's true, and I think there's a little bit of he's supposed to be Alan Moore-like. I wish he was more Alan Moore-like, because it would be a more interesting character.
And again, if you're not familiar with who Alan Moore is, he wrote V for Vendetta, he wrote Watchmen, and lots of other stuff.
It's a British comic book writer from Northampton.
Who thinks he's a wizard.
Well, he is a wizard.
And looks like a wizard hobo most of the time.
He is a unique talent who is a weird dude who's awesome.
Hey, I made it through Jerusalem.
Yeah, you
did. His longest novel. I made it through it, and it was so worth it. But yeah he's hobo wizard Alan Moore.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't listen because he'll get mad and probably curse me from a distance.
So these characters are part of something called Fear Zone Comics, which is really all of the characters in this. And there's only a few of them that get named, but they have some interesting names. And I scoured this episode.
I know you did.
So the GarGhoul character, which has a black robe and a face mask, is actually GarGhoul.
Oh.
That's what the character is.
That's so Scooby-Doo. I'm sorry.
It's very Scooby-Doo. The character that Winter.
He's only one season.
Dresses up as is Eagle Man, which is clearly a Hawkman reference. Then you have the Mighty Ancillor. Who is the guy with the blue cape with the white symbol on it, and he has a silver mask.
Okay, we see a few of those.
And then the yellow suit with the red cross on it, and either the white cape or the coat.
That's what Murray dresses up as.
Yes, Murray's dresses up. His character's name is Dr. Good.
Okay.
We have Forbidden, who is Francesca, the character who
he reveals.
And then the next kind of most prominent character is a character that looks like Aquaman's wife in DC.
She's got like a latex jumpsuit.
Mira. She has a green latex jumpsuit. She has
with
a
scales
crown.
on it. Yeah.
She has usually red or light colored hair. On the back of her cape is an octopus. It's a pink cape, and Betty has that exact cape on.
Ah.
And you see it. And she has power bolts from her hands and some. There's another guy who has a white cape and a silver mask and a gun. There's a cutout of him, and on the back of his cape is MM, but I don't know anything more about.
He's Midsomer Man.
Midsomer Man. There's a woman with pink hair who has blades. She's like a pink-haired ninja girl.
Okay.
There's a silver and purple female character, a barbarian princess kind of character. She has a crown. There's a Superman cutout guy that has the Superman colors reversed on it. He's cut out in that you can put your head in in the picture, but that's the only place he appears on that stand-up. And then we have who I can only call Casino Man.
Yeah. All the green suits with playing cards.
Riddler guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people dressed up like that.
That they made like 5 or 6 costumes of all these characters and put all the extras in them. I think it was great. I think they did spectacularly.
Oh, don't forget the 2 sumo wrestlers that appear in the middle all the time. The
Yeah.
inflatable sumo guys. There's always somebody doing that. There's a really good scene near the end. It's like an hour and 17 minutes in where Darwin Chipping is sitting just having a cup of tea looking despondent. And there's one of those aqua girls and another girl in orange. And they're like going to approach him. And then the one shoves the other one like towards him, and she turns around and she's like, "Don't push me at him. Oh my God, I'm so starstruck."
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's funny. You can find a video on Facebook that's posted by the Midsomer Murders people from costume designer Sue Thompson that goes through all this. We tried to get in contact with her, and we still might.
Yeah.
I think she would be incredibly interesting
I'd love to hear
person to talk to.
Yeah, what she had to work
and
with.
The video I'll post it on in the show notes. She shows drawings and early versions of some of these costumes and talks about, and then she turns around and she has like 5 of the comic books behind her. I'm like,
can I have those, please?
So want something from this episode.
Gimme.
A couple of the titles of the comics include Stone Cold Heart. That's the one with the Aqua Woman. That's what we'll call her, Aqua Woman. The Birth of Eagle Man, and the one with Dr. Good is Bad Appointment. And there's a team, which is the Fear Squad.
Okay.
And the Fear Squad is made up of GarGhoul, Eagle Man, Dr. Good, and Aqua Woman.
Okay.
That's the 4 characters that are in the Fear Squad. I cannot believe how much work they put in this episode.
They created a universe.
They created a whole universe.
And most viewers probably didn't even notice it, but you know who does?
Yeah.
Maniacs.
Yep, absolutely.
We appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely.
What I don't appreciate is a gigantic flaw in this episode.
There's a gigantic flaw in this episode that we both noticed right away.
Dear listeners, recall back many episodes ago, near the beginning of John Barnaby's part in the show, when he almost first came on, and we saw the stairwell in the house that he and Sarah Barnaby have. And in the stairwell were some amazing Spider-Man comic covers in frames that Mark was drooling over.
Yep.
We have to assume that either Sarah or John were supposed to be into those comics.
Well, you see, I think my reasoning is...
And yet in this episode, John pretends he doesn't know anything about comics.
Yes. My reasoning about this episode is that Sarah is the comic book fan because she has the Spider-Mans at home. She recognizes how good the kids comic is, which I got to say is the best comic in the episode. And so I think those are her comics.
Oh, so then why isn't she excited to be at the con?
I don't know.
Okay. We'll go with it, though.
Yeah.
We'll go with it. So there's a comic book being produced by a super secret comic artist. Acutus. Which means, yes, it means justice. It's not just justice. It's the Latin concept of justice and equality and conformity. It's the word that equity comes from.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Not really justice. It's equity.
Yes.
It's more fairness than justice, really. Equitus is level on the playing field here. And you may think that the kids' comic is the best one. I think that True Identity is the best comic in the episode because the illustrations of those 6 characters are phenomenal.
Yeah, they did
They're gory as hell, but they're phenomenal.
They did a really good job.
I could not find who did those. I can only assume that Anthony Noble, who's the graphic designer for the episode, drew them. I couldn't find a reference anywhere to another artist who might have done it.
I looked too. I think the problem I have is it's not really a comic. It's not sequential storytelling.
I know.
But the art is beautiful.
It's the finale for Acutus, so it's not really meant to be a story.
Absolutely.
So tell me what you thought about the overall setup of FranCon and like the aesthetics of FranCon.
They did an excellent job at what a con appears like now, right? When I was a kid, cons were old guys in long boxes selling bagged comics.
Yeah.
That's what they were. now a con is a whole experience of cosplay and things like lectures and things like
Whole
that.
families show up there, panels
Panels. And there are all sorts of weird things like dinosaurs, giant golden women, flying booby gargoyles, all sorts of crazy things, right?
You had to mention the flying booby gargoyle. So there's a shot where it pans past a man using an angle grinder on a giant like scrap metal robot sculpture.
Yeah.
That sculpture's great.
And there's another robot sculpture in that area. And it's like an art display.
Right. And then when it pans around, Timothy Argos kind of walks into the scene, and we've got a screenshot of this. And above him is hanging this sculpture of this like alien woman with wings that is like 10 feet wide, probably.
It's gorgeous.
It's humongous. And it's like an alien flying.
Yeah, and the Comic-Cons have these now. They're like photo opportunities.
Yes. But what did you make out of her? What?
The dinosaurs are weird.
Yeah.
She's weird with the robot.
Yeah.
The giant golden naked woman is weird. The flying moth multicolored woman is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But the weirdest thing for the whole thing is why there are gnomes there.
There are big gnomes.
I don't know why they're there.
Because they're giant garden gnomes. I don't know either.
It's weird.
I hypothesized that she was a character from some comic. And so I came up with names for her. Do you want to know?
You did?
Yes.
What names did you come up with?
My first one is Gargoyle McBigboobs.
GarGhoul. GarGhoul McBigboobs.
Oh, Gargoyle McBigboobs. And then I thought, well, maybe she looks very powerful.
She does.
So maybe she's like the leader of an alien army or something. So the other one I came up with, General Massive Tits from the planet Gargoyle.
I gotta say, I like that one.
Because she's definitely got a gargoyle-y face, not a gargoyle face.
No.
But like a gargoyle-y face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a festival.
Yes.
Setup.
Now, the part of me that is comic book is like, you don't have comic book things outside because it can rain.
Yeah, and cosplayers don't like it when their costumes get wet.
And I certainly would. If I went to a Comic-Con and they said it was outside, I'd say thank you very much, but no. I'm not going to bring my stuff to sell.
No, my paper comics.
Yes. No.
And we're in Carver's Valley.
It's weird.
That's the village.
Yeah, the village is like kind of totally forgotten.
It's a couple of very narrow streets is what it is.
Yeah.
Traffic is not good.
No. Well, luckily they have sumo wrestlers and the bouncy castle.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I liked they did the signs and everything really well.
Yeah.
And I think they did manage the change that has happened in my lifetime of comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, comic books were what the old man thought comic books were, a waste of time.
Troy's comics.
Yeah, it's Troy's comics, right? You're a kid if you like
Hawkman or whatever it was that he collected.
The Hawk.
The Hawk. Sorry, yeah.
All that changed with the Marvel movies in the early 80s and the aughts.
Mm-hmm.
And now comic books are far more mainstream. More people know about Iron Man and Thor and the Hulk than ever before, ever in my lifetime. To go to like an upscale clothing shop and see characters from Marvel on clothing in my lifetime, I never thought I would ever see that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've caught that change in comic books really well.
And they sort of allude to that change a little bit when John calls Winter because they've got a case. And Winter's like, but it's my day off. And he clearly doesn't want Barnaby to see him in his costume, but then he does.
Now,
and John says, I didn't know you had a hobby.
That costume is the best cosplay at the festival.
Yes, it is.
And he would be attracting attention because his cosplay is so good.
When you said it was the best cosplay, you kind of slipped because the yellow shorts are a bit revealing at times.
Oh my, yes. I watched a lot of this episode frame by frame, and
Are you intimate with Winter's yellow shorts
there's
now?
at least one part where I'm like, dude, you're poking out there.
Somebody get that man some tape.
Yep. But what a trooper. What an absolute
Oh my gosh.
trooper.
Yeah. And I like that the 6-pack or the 8-pack is like embroidered into the suit.
Yep.
But he can wear it.
Yeah.
He pulls it off.
He pulls it off.
Just fine.
He makes it look so good.
So we've got the Argos and the Starlings, right? So we've got Juno Starling, who's the doctor.
Yes.
Her husband, Lord Argo, died 2 years ago, and she married Isaac Sterling, who's the sheriff, by the way. If you didn't notice, he's the sheriff.
He is the sheriff. Now, I did want to ask you something. So how did they know about Lord Conrad Argo?
What do you mean? How do they know?
How did they know about him? There's some information given to them in a way.
Well, we see his gravestone, but Barnaby should know all about it because what murder happens in Midsomer, especially a lord, only 2 years ago that he doesn't know about already.
Exactly.
He should know about it.
Yes.
Oh, well.
But we learn another way, too.
How?
Do you remember what they see on the outside of the house?
No. Oh, the blue panel, the blue sign.
So that blue sign talks about Lord Argo, okay? So I found a place.
Because he was a philanthropist.
I found a place that makes these.
Oh, yeah, you can get your own. You can get fake ones now. The blue plaque.
I think we should make one that says Home of the Midsomer Maniacs. And have, like it has, Midsomer County across the top.
Oh, yes. We have to.
I think we should.
And we have to put it on the outside of our house.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And then there's an online map of all the blue plaques in the UK. We have to put ours on the map.
Yes, we do.
So there's just one in the US and it's ours. We absolutely have to do that. We will do that as soon as we're done recording today.
So have to do that.
I'm on board. Death shall not deny thee life is what it says on his gravestone.
Yes.
It's not. If it's a reference to something, I don't know what it is. I looked and looked and looked. It's not. But it's in quotes. But
so we have a woman in bed dying. I wonder how many episodes do we have this at the beginning?
A lot, but it's usually an old man.
It's usually an old man, but we this is a trope.
Yeah.
And we have this woman, Xenia,
who
comes in and goes, "What's happening?"
Yeah.
And my comment is, "Your shirt's horrible. That's what's happening." I don't know if she's supposed to be Brazilian or Spanish. She's suddenly a golfer and then not.
There are scenes where she has no accent and then she does, and
clearly never used a golf club in her entire life.
But she has a hat.
She does have
shoes.
The golf hat and shoes.
Yes. Timothy Starling, is putting on FranCon. He's the organizer of FranCon.
Yes. This is its 7th year, 6th year or 7th year?
I don't know.
How old do you think he is? And when he started?
He's 30.
You think he's 30?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think he's a late
bloomer. So maybe he's 23.
Because his dad just kept him under his heel so much.
How old do you think Stella is?
I think Stella's in her mid-20s.
So she would be like a teenager when it started.
Yeah, but their parents have only been married for 2 years.
Their parents have only
They were both grown-ups when their parents got married.
And wouldn't they know each other
that they
in the
make
village
up
already?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I don't care.
That they're step-siblings and they want to kissy kiss?
I don't care about that. Their parents got married 2 years ago.
In this show, they're adult children of newly married people.
Killers?
Go for it. Yeah, well, yeah. Like, go for it. Like,
yeah, why not? I don't care about that.
She's definitely laying the groundwork. Anything.
So Aquitus calls Tim and says that
I got your books, man.
The comics are in the cemetery.
Yep.
The angel weeps.
Yes.
How does Aquitus make any money if that's how he distributes his comics? Like, does Tim sell them and pass him the cash back?
I literally said, you put those comic books on the ground.
You're like, I'm never going to get wet.
And then I'm like, there's no one at the con selling this comic book.
No, because they don't have it.
And then they get burnt, by the way. I don't think that paper would burn. That glossy, shiny paper.
Oh, I think it would if you put gasoline on it.
If you put gasoline on it.
And it had to have had some kind of accelerant because it goes.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But
it's a big fire.
But yeah, I'm like, how does he make any money?
See, you're thinking that when Tim brings the box home and Stella opens it and they see what it is. And all I'm thinking of is, can I have that kitchen, please?
Oh my gosh.
The Starling's kitchen has a glass ceiling and I'm like,
it's gorgeous.
That's so beautiful. Can I have it, please?
So gorgeous.
My kitchen is in the middle of my house underneath the second floor and it feels claustrophobic and trapped and it's horrible. And can I have that one? No, we can't have the comics. We can't have the kitchen. Man, no. Life's not fair.
And it brings up they touch on it a little bit here. The notion of comic book speculation.
Yeah,
right?
about how limited quantities of them make them more valuable.
Which was huge in the 90s. The people who wrote this episode about comics grew up in the 90s around comics.
Yeah.
Or
knew somebody who did and talked to them about it.
The characters all seem 80s
good.
characters, but the speculation aspect and the way the Equitas comic book looks is so 90s.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I think
it's absolutely gorgeous art.
And then, so you've already mentioned it, the comics get stolen and lit on fire.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, how does that person know that Tim opened the box, but then just left it sitting on the table? Like, this is a comic that they're all like eagerly anticipating, and he just leaves it there without ever looking at it. And well, of course they know, because it's Stella.
Yes.
Right? So Stella has access to glass cutting lasers?
She does. And she also is an amazing artist. The cards she makes for Zinnia are gorgeous.
Her flyers, yeah.
And then, by the way, I thought I'd let you know I'm running for sheriff too.
Oh,
since
are you?
Every other character.
Wait a minute, so am I.
Oh, okay.
I'll vote for you if you vote for me.
Okay. I thought sheriff voting was a United States thing and not a.
It's not. As far as I'll tell you about sheriffs in the UK. Yeah.
We'll get there. And then she draws the last.
She at least finishes it.
Yeah. And that is a completely different style.
Yeah.
And she is the greatest artist that we've ever seen in Midsomer.
If she's been studying Aquitas's comics, though.
Maybe.
If you're a good artist, you can mimic that style.
I could.
And he's there next to her telling her what to do, I'm sure, because...
And he probably
Barrett would have done it if he could.
He probably did some layout.
Sketch or something. Yeah. I love all of the cut scenes where they do paneling on the screen.
Yeah, so...
They do a really good job
Not to go to Greenland, but they're called wipes.
We've been in Greenland since the beginning.
We've been comic book Greenland. They're called wipes, and they're meant to look, in this case, like comic books.
Right.
And actually, Ang Lee used the exact same technique in his Incredible Hulk movie.
You need to push your glasses up and go, actually.
Actually.
Nerd alert, nerd alert. And so apparently, half of the cast in Nick has chickenpox. How does that happen?
I don't know.
Are they not vaccinated? Now, come on.
They should get vaccinated.
Come on. Fleur should be mad.
I have a note that says Fleur comes out for a box of bird comics. I don't think Fleur's going to come out for that.
No. And then Barnaby just walks in the house and starts poking around.
Just like do.
And finds Isaac's flyer for his run for sheriff.
Yes. Everybody has such nice flyers. The printing company's making lots of money.
I don't know. Ruth's flyers and his look nearly the same.
They're very basic flyers.
Basic.
But they're not like...
They're not Zennia's flyers.
Zennia's
Hers
flyers
are cool.
Beautiful.
And let's talk about Sheriff.
Okay.
We keep kidding around. Right?
Sheriff. It's Sheriff. Not Mr.
Sheriff Starling. Okay, so here's the lowdown on sheriffs in the UK. And
you get to wear long leather coats?
To learn this, I had to go...
horses?
To learn this, I had to slog through legislation.gov.uk.
Oh, man.
So I read the actual law about sheriffs. Oh, boy. Okay, so here's the lowdown on sheriffs. They are largely now ceremonial, okay? I'm going to tell you what they do now, and then I'm going to tell you what they did then.
Okay.
All right. Right now, their jobs are ceremonial. So if there is a royal visit to the county where they are the sheriff, the Lord Lieutenant is the one who arranges royal visits, and they are the touch point for the Lord Lieutenant. And they would then work with the mayors and the village councils to coordinate that visit.
Okay.
So they're, I don't know, concierge.
And this is after like medieval sheriffs that
were
like Sheriff of Nottingham. That is
right.
Like a
I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
The other thing they do is if there is a high court judge who visits their county, they ensure the welfare of the visiting high court judge, attend to them at court, and offer them hospitality.
Oh, okay. So they take care of judges who show up.
Judges and royals.
Okay.
However, I'm not going to go back as far as you went back. Back to medieval times, but in modern times, like since the 1930s or 40s, Their role was they weren't law enforcement, but they did deliver writs. Okay. And they had responsibilities around writs. And they also attended elections and made sure that they were done safely and correctly.
And tackle people stealing tickets?
Yes. But a big part of what they did with these writs is to hold somebody prisoner for a short period of time.
Oh.
So they did have responsibilities for if there was somebody that needed to be arrested and somebody was coming to get them.
They do a masterful job in the writing of this episode to make it look like it's the most important thing to him and how everyone around them knows how useless it is without saying that.
Yeah. But it's still law that the same person can't be chosen twice in 3 years to be sheriff. A person who has been sheriff of a county for a whole year shall not within 3 of the next ensuing years be appointed sheriff of that county unless there is no other person in the county qualified to fill the office.
And it's per county.
Yes.
So he's like the sheriff of Badger's Drift, too.
He's the sheriff of Midsomer County.
Which...
There's a song right there.
Yeah. You would think would be a little more coveted
and you would think there'd be people running from other villages.
I would think you'd probably have an office in Costin,
It wouldn't just be Carver's Valley people who compete to be sheriff.
Yeah.
If a sheriff's prisoner escapes, the sheriff is liable for the costs to the person who the prisoner's crime was committed against.
Wow.
So if they capture somebody, if Jerome, stealing the ticket, gets away and Francon decides to sue, Isaac's good for the money. Now, the most interesting thing I found, and this is the last thing I'll tell you, is that prior to 1965, when the death penalty was abolished in the UK, if you were the sheriff of a county where somebody was sentenced to death, you had to attend the execution.
Oh, you had to go.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You were the representative of the county.
Wow.
Who had to go.
That's a hard thing to do.
Until the Murder Act of 1965. That's what it's called. The abolition of the death penalty is called the Murder Act.
Yeah.
It's kind of a heavy name.
Yeah.
They may have even been responsible for the execution in some cases.
That's tough.
I don't think Isaac would want that job if he still had that responsibility.
He's going to get a taser.
Have no fear, my dear. I'm getting a taser. He is so well written. He's so brilliant. You sort of feel sorry for him because he's clearly trying to be important. He wants to be important so
he's
bad.
Pouting so
oh my God,
well.
and he knows he's pouting.
Yep.
He says the next person to break into the house is going to get 1,000 volts.
And okay, let's just say this. He is culpable in the hurting of Francesca.
Oh, yes.
He's culpable.
Absolutely.
But he protects his daughter. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no, I took the jewelry.
Well, let's be honest. She was protecting him, so he owes her that back. It's not like her horse killed put Francesca in a coma.
But what I'm saying is he's not a criminal.
He stalks a woman and brings his daughter along with him.
He does do that.
That's kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy. And now he does do the thing that you should do when you're getting blackmailed. He goes and tells the cops right away.
Yeah, it was me. I did that.
Yeah.
But not until he's already decided that he's going to give in.
Yeah.
So do you think 1,000 volts is a lot?
Doesn't it also depend on amps?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. A police taser is typically 1,200 volts.
Okay.
What I didn't know is how much higher the voltage is initially, right? So when it comes out of the taser, it's much higher than what it is when it gets to you.
Yeah.
And it has to be higher to go through clothes and whatever.
Yeah.
And the distance between the 2 points of contact that it shoots at you, or if it's like a prong one that has to touch you, the distance between them means that the voltage has to be higher to bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
So if a police taser is 1,200 volts, how many volts do you think an electric eel is?
Oh, it's like 5,000 or 6,000, isn't it?
It's 700.
Oh, I was completely wrong.
Yeah, it's only 700. But a static shock, how much do you think that is?
Oh,
like when you get from your socks rubbing on the carpet.
50.
75,000.
How does this work?
But it's at microamps.
It's at microamps.
Yeah. So like an electric eel is 700 volts at 1 amp, right? But an electric shock is 75,000 at a microamp.
Which is 1,000.
1,000th
of an amp.
1,000th of an amp. So that's the difference. So, if you put a battery on an eel, they're trouble. They're real trouble. Or if you, touch a bunch of them together and then touch you with them, you're in trouble. But like those police batons, police tasers, they start out at like 30,000 to 50,000 volts.
Wow.
Coming out of the gun. And then by the time they touch you, it's down to 1,000 or 1,200, something like that. That's enough to knock you down.
Yeah.
And incapacitate you. And somebody's going to let Isaac own one? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
He's going to keep it in a holster on his hip and be like, flip it out.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to get you. I'm surprised he doesn't wear a cowboy hat. He's too busy being, fancy gentleman of the countryside in his tweeds.
I have 2 questions next. First, what do you think the stand-up budget was for this episode? And 2, what was the name of the poor intern who had to keep moving them around so they're in the background of every shot?
And by stand-up, you mean the life-size cutouts?
Yes, those life-size cutouts of Bill Bailey.
Don't drag it. Pick it up. They're larger than life-size. When he's on stage and they're on either side of him, they're taller than he is.
The best part is they're in the costume he's wearing
the
right
same
now.
outfit. Yeah, like he only has one outfit.
Yeah.
So Francesca's in a coma and has been for 2 years since Isaac's horse kicked her in the head.
Yes.
She was an unpleasant lady to begin with, apparently.
She apparently was a supermodel of unpleasantness.
She and her brother, Lord Argos, were both apparently pretty miserable human beings.
I wanted to see, and it's tough because then you have to pay the actor, but I wanted to see a scene where he was being mean to
Tim.
To Tim. Yeah.
Just to get a sense of who he was.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that enough in other characters. We know what it looks like to have a belittling father,
Yeah.
But those two were toxic, apparently.
Yeah.
And she wore way too much jewelry. If she could have a whole bag of jewelry on at once, that's too much. Too much.
Way too much.
Of course, her comic book character has a thigh holster full of syringes.
Yeah.
Because, you can run and kick wearing 6-inch heels with a thigh holster full of syringes.
That character reminded me, there's a character in Marvel called Typhoid Mary. That's kind of the same character. This lecture, which
it's not a lecture, it's an announcement.
Second, there are empty seats, okay? And there are people standing in the background. They could have easily sold 200 more tickets.
It's a small marquee.
Yep.
There's not enough room in there.
And 50 pounds a pop is insane. Literally insane.
To hear
the fact that
Darwin go, here's my new character, the end. You mentioned tickets because Jerome, the kid, wants a ticket, doesn't have the money. What do you think of Winter being behind him going, I have the right change, and buying the last ticket out from under that kid?
I thought he said, I have the right change so that he could give the
I did
change
too the first time.
to the kid. And
I thought he was going to give him the extra couple of bucks he needed.
Yep.
Instead, he buys the last ticket and saunters off.
When I feel bad that Barnaby took Winter's ticket, and then I remember that part.
And then you're like, yeah, you don't deserve it.
No.
Took it from that kid. Poor kid.
Oh.
He had like pound coins.
Yeah.
He clearly had been scraping together. Where did Winter keep his money, by the way?
Well, he had lots of little pouches.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And, well, the big pouch at the front. And then that kid, if any kid that age, because he's high school age, handed in that comic book, even just the pages we saw, and understood that story as more than what it was, okay, you get an A in a number of courses.
Yeah.
He was far beyond his years.
Yeah. He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
I love that Darwin sits down across the street from the crime scene and is sketching.
Yes. Because he's both writer and artist.
Yes. And Tim comes along and says, I don't know if that's appropriate. And he's like, we never let the muse pass you by. That's just how it is.
So we get to the first murder of Francesca.
Mm-hmm.
She is unplugged.
Yes.
So that is upsetting at first. And then her breathing tube is ripped out of her.
I know.
And there is a hole in her neck. Like, I don't want to give her dead body because I think that the other dead body may be better. But dying body, she's really good. And that makeup is super good. I was like, where did they find an actress with a hole in her neck?
Yeah, really. And initially you think that the killer is going to shove the comic into the stoma in her neck.
Yes. I was like, you can't roll it up tight enough.
Like, oh my God, that would hurt so bad. Like, don't worry. I know I pulled your breathing tube out, but I'll give you a new one. Here you go. It gets shoved into her mouth, right? Because she's starting to wake up. She just happens to start to wake up after 2 years in a coma.
Yeah, and her fingers start to move.
And then Bob's your dead auntie.
Yes.
Fleur is so awesome.
Fleur, who has no time for comic books.
No,
is just
none.
like, whatever.
So the comic has 6 people in it, the True Identity comic. It has Ruth Crane, who is Dr. Juno's receptionist.
Yes.
The witch.
The witch.
I don't know what she did to get that.
I don't know either.
Darwin Chipping, the thief and plagiarist. Timothy Argo, who is spooked.
Yep.
Murray Eckbeer, who runs a buy and sell shop and is humiliated and pitiable. Isaac the vampire. And Xenia, the killing golf player. The pages for Xenia are particularly gory.
Yeah, she's like whacking the crap out of Francesca.
Her eyes are red. There's blood splattered everywhere.
Yep.
Woo! Man, I don't know why we have to care that Barrett is a fisherman, but everybody seems to want you to know that he's a fisherman.
Well, that's where he was instead of making his comic.
Yeah, that's where he's supposed to be, but we know he can't. And so he just goes to the fish shop and buys a fish.
Yeah.
And Xenia cleans that fish.
And he's not...
in the grossest way possible.
Oh. And she's not smart enough to know...
that that's a pollock and they come from the ocean.
And that he's not smart enough to order only freshwater fish.
He just didn't care, I guess.
Never mind, he has a $5,000 printer. Where did he get the money for that?
Oh my gosh. Well, she says over and over again that he doesn't notice her. So maybe he just doesn't put enough thought into trying to fool her about where he was. He just doesn't care that much.
This is another example of who runs this frickin' cafe.
Oh, nobody.
Stella is the only person we see working.
Yeah. And she's barely there.
And it's full. A couple of times we see it, it's full.
Yeah.
Who?
There's just unnamed people who work there and who are responsible and do their jobs.
I guess so. And sit in the storeroom and listen to gossip.
What did you make of Murray and Bluebell?
Well, Murray's a sad character because Murray is both, he's the outside looking in character, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to be sheriff, but he can only do it through blackmail. And I think he feels guilty about that. He also has a horrible relationship with Bluebell, Ekblad, or whatever her name is.
Eckbeer.
What? Did they spin badly on the name wheel that day?
They had the Scrabble tiles out and they just made the best name they could out of the letters they
I just want to be like, that's an inappropriate name for that character. And she is at times the doting girlfriend, and then suddenly she's out of there.
And you don't see any sign of her and Barrett making googie eyes or anything. I didn't notice that.
Why do they want to go to Egypt?
I don't know.
My niece,
maybe because they heard Fleur went there and she had such a good time.
My niece worked in Egypt teaching English and gym. Her and her husband lived in Egypt for like 3 years. They had to live in a compound the whole time to have any sort of freedoms as a woman, right? Because it's a Muslim country.
Yeah.
Why would you go there?
I don't know.
When he supposedly had a whole bunch of money to get a rent on a condo for 3 years. Why do you... The Egypt thing, I was just like, what? So then Murray finds out about all this and he has his little temper tantrum.
Oh, and he says, I'm not anybody's hero. I feel so bad for him.
The whole scene in the marquee at the end with Murray and
the lightsaber.
Murray and the lightsaber. And when Juno tells what happened and Tim's there, that is really well lit and really sad.
It's claustrophobic in that marquee.
They move closer and closer to those characters, which to my chagrin, because I was like looking around in the background trying to find out Dr. Good's name. There's 2 pinball machines in that marquee, and I can't find...
they just crammed that tent full of nerd things.
Oh.
Like, here are geek things. Put it in there.
I looked at 5,000 pinball machines today to try to find that pinball
And they
machine.
put sound effects of video games in the background,
Yep.
though you don't see any arcade machines.
There's one arcade machine.
Okay.
There's two pinball machines.
It's going blip, blip in the
and
background.
one arcade machine. Yeah.
And then there's Mom, I got a part.
Mom. Well, there are a million Mom, I got a part here.
Okay, but my favorites are the grave diggers.
Why? Okay. I have such a problem with the grave digging. That's not how you dig graves. And the fact
they stand around in their blue suits and smoke and look at people.
that Stella is covered to her face in dirt. Good, almost dead body there. And then she gets pulled out of the hole. She's completely clean.
Yeah, well, come on. She couldn't be dirty.
Why not?
Those two dudes are in the background of like 3 scenes.
Yeah.
And they're just eating the scenery in the background.
They're fantastic.
I could not help but watch them. I just thought, because one of them's like leaning on a shovel, looking snarky all the time. The other one's actually doing some work. And then they swap for the next scene and then they swap back.
It's like the cleanest grave ever.
Yeah.
Like, the dirt is just pristine.
Oh, it's potting soil.
Yeah.
It's even got the little white pellets in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they find the SIM card at the cemetery, and the grave diggers are in the foreground, and the Sacco suits are in the background digging through the grass. And they get to stand in the front going, what do you think they're doing? I don't know what they're doing. Like they're just standing over there.
Did you see what were in the previous issues of the comic book?
Mm-mm.
So Winter holds it up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a goose attacking a young man, and there's a charwoman who's like, she has a rolling pin and she's waving it at a guy on a hunting guy on a horse. And then also in the print shop, there's a picture of a policeman surrounded by sheep.
Are you talking about Barrett's office?
Yeah.
That's got to be a Hot Fuzz reference.
The whole thing feels like Hot Fuzz.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, boy. So then Barrett gets killed.
Yes.
Right. So Barrett is Aquidus. He's been drawing the comic the whole time. And this was going to be his last issue because he and Bluebell were going to run off to Egypt together. And so he's getting his comeuppance against everybody in this last issue. He can't draw it. So Stella has to help him because he has arthritis too bad to draw it. And I love that Winter says, I tried to draw one time and I got repetitive strain injury right away.
Wait a minute. We're missing an important part about people who draw. Did you see Ruth Crane's work?
No.
She's drawing a house on a little pad of paper that looks like a 5-year-old kid. It's like the square house with the door and the window and the triangle roof. I'm like, Ruth Crane is no artist.
Your doodles are bad, lady. Maybe that's why she just went into the print shop and said, swap my face out for Isaac's and give me the same flyer he's got.
Yeah, like, wow. Her drawing is horrific.
So Barrett has a secret bank account that hit all of his mom's money from being in Savoir magazine as a model.
Yes.
Savoir is not a magazine, by the way.
No.
Savoir is a magazine. It's a food magazine.
The food magazine.
And then there's Savoir Faire magazine, which I think is what they're making a play on. Yeah. But those magazine covers up on the wall above her bed are well done.
Yeah, they
I
are.
think they did.
Everything is well done.
Oh, yeah. They got all of our notes about things in the background not being well done.
Barrett kind of teleports all over the village. Did you notice
He
that?
does. Yeah. He kind of blips and he's here and he's there. Does what he wants to.
So he gets killed. He gets the
paper cutter
in the throat.
Yeah.
How strong is Juno?
She's strong.
Because, man, to be able to do that, I don't
think you have to be that. He leans back in his chair. She grabs his hair, pulls him in, pushes it down.
There would be blood shooting everywhere.
Oh, my gosh. It would be so bad. It would be so bad. But it's such I'm not going to say it's a good way to kill him, but it's a midsummery way to kill somebody for sure.
So there's a flashback to the night that Lord Argo died. And there's a grate around the fireplace.
Mm.
And on that grate can only be described as a ninja cat.
What?
It's a cat. It's clearly got a tail and cat ears, but it has like a sword.
Okay.
It is the weirdest.
Is it like the Argo coat of arms? I missed this.
No, it's not. I'll put a picture in the show notes. I'm just like, is that Ninja Cat Fire Grate? Which I was like, that's a cool band name.
Ninja Cat Fire Grate.
Yeah.
See, now I didn't see it during the episode. I missed that. So in my head now, it's like Hello Kitty on the fire grate with a sword, which is not very Lord Argo, but to each his own. Whatever.
No, it's there. Wow.
Isaac's tantrum is perfect.
Yes.
When he's sitting on the bench in the village green in his tweeds with his horse, having a big pout.
Yep.
And he says, this village is really going to miss me. No, they're not. Not at all.
This village is really going to miss me.
He's just so perfect.
Yep.
And then, he has to admit, because Fleur finds Stockholm tar.
Okay, wait a minute.
Did they exhume for it? No, because Francesca's not been dead for 2 years. She just died.
The Stockholm car could not have been in her head for 2 years.
It has been. It's been stuck on her head for 2 years.
She's like, well, we have better technology now.
People in comas don't get good baths.
See into the past?
It was embedded in the head wound. Did you see the CT scans on the screen behind Fleur when she's talking? Where Francesca's head is just empty?
Yes.
I mean, she was a jerk, I guess, but I think she still had a brain. Like, if she had no brain left, why were they keeping her alive? She had no hopes. If her head was just empty. And then Sarah and...
My entire life is falling apart. Let me clean these plates.
Yes.
What the hell are you doing, Juno?
Well, some women do that. When they stress out, they clean. They polish, they clean, they try to put things in order. I think that you can relate to that because you sort of do that too.
But
when you get stressed out, you clean stuff.
But it's weird. I was just like...
And all of a sudden, she's the help.
Yeah.
Like polishing the silver and stuff.
Yeah.
So Sarah and John are in the yard and they're talking about Jerome's comic and she calls him a Philistine.
Yes.
Do you know where that comes from?
Okay, that's from the Bible.
The Philistine people are referenced in the Bible, yes. But calling someone a Philistine, meaning that they're uncultured, do you know where that comes from?
No.
This is fascinating.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to Sarah's Nerd Corner.
Okay. We've been in Mark's Nerd. We're in Mark's Nerd house.
Yeah. We're in the town of Mark Nerddom. But over here in my corner, let me tell you about Philistines. This is fascinating to me.
Okay.
Okay. 1689.
Okay.
All right. In Germany, a town called Jena, Germany, there is a riot between some students at a university and the townies.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
People died. Lots of people died.
Yes.
Okay. And then this guy who was the ecclesiastical superintendent gives a sermon about the riot. I think he's wagging his fingers at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the term Philister in German.
Yes.
Philister being a term for people who are uncultured.
Yes.
Then Matthew Arnold translates this sermon and turns Philister into Philistine.
Okay.
And since then, Philistine has been used to refer to people.
And what year is this?
1689.
Okay.
Since then, it's been used to refer to people who have social class hostilities or are anti-culture.
Philistine.
Yes. That's been around since 1689.
Wow.
And we're still using it.
Well, I always knew it was a Bible word.
But it's a town versus gown thing. That's what it is.
It's a town versus gown thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some minister wagging his finger at the townspeople saying,
Philistine,
you guys are ruffians. And he calls them ruffians. And then Matthew Arnold, I think, sort of mistranslates it.
Yep.
Kind of.
I may have used that word to describe town people in my town.
Not in Bloomington.
Not Bloomington.
No,
the town I grew up.
There really isn't a lot of town versus gown here, which it's surprising, but yeah.
So then we have an actual comic book reference to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
And
Winter says I'm your
I just want
Jack
to
Kirby
say
and Stan Lee.
That Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's life has been troubled with ownership and legal issues and all sorts of things. They were both incredibly creative men. They both worked really hard and they both created amazing things.
Okay, let's talk about the string of crimes that have happened going back 2 years and who did what.
Yes.
Because it all gets unraveled.
Yes.
All right. So it starts with Isaac being creepy and riding his horse past Juno's house.
Now he loved her. Okay. And yes, it's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
Sort of.
It's not a big village. I'm sure he went
I only say it's creepy because he's creepy, because I find him creepy a bit.
I think he only went by her house just because he could feel a little closer to her.
Right. And brings his daughter.
He brings his daughter, and he's not luring in the windows.
No, he's not. He's not trespassing or anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're riding. Then Francesca, the evil Mr. T model, in all of her necklaces, comes up.
And she knows right away what's going on.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to tell my brother. And his horse goes, and kicks her in the head. Boom.
But the horse is spooked by what's going on in the house.
Right. I gave the horse some credit for not liking Francesca, of having a good judge of character and kicking her in the head.
That's good.
But it was just startled by the sound from inside the house.
Yes.
Okay. So it kicks her in the head, and then Stella comes along, and Stella's like, oh my gosh, what happened? And they get off the horse and they check her, and she's alive. And she says to her dad, Isaac, you get out of here. I'll cover.
Now, we have to assume that Cam was the coroner at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Cam is smart enough to go, that's a horse hoof. Plus, there would have been horse hoof prints all over that scene.
Oh my gosh, that pea gravel would have been so clearly trodden through by horses. Okay. Yeah. So Stella takes Francesca's jewelry off of her to make it look like a burglary. And she is in love with Tim and knows Tim needs money because FranCon which wasn't FranCon at the time, is going under, right?
And Francesca also oozes stardust out of her forehead.
Yes. And Stockholm tar.
Yes.
It's just an endless supply of tar coming out of her head wound. Stardust and tar. Okay. So
that's the beginning of the episode, by the way.
So then Stella sells the jewelry to Murray.
Yes. And Murray keeps her secret.
He does, but he also keeps the jewelry. He doesn't
sell
it.
Why does he keep the jewelry?
I don't know. He should have fenced it. He didn't. Whatever.
And how did he get the money, enough money to save the festival?
I know. It would have been a lot of money.
It would have been a huge amount.
Because Francesca was wealthy. We can't think that she had on cheap jewelry,
no.
Right? He shoves it all in a bag. He keeps it and puts it in a dresser somewhere that then Bluebell turns over and finds it later. Anyway. Meanwhile, in the house 2 years ago,
yes,
Timothy grabs a fire poker and beats his dad to death because his dad is a jerk face.
With the cat ninja grate.
With the Hello Kitty grate.
Yep.
And Juno comes along and goes, oh no, I have to cover for my son and keep him safe. I've got to pretend that we've been burgled, right?
That when they first showed the flashback without Tim in it, I was like, she's a doctor. Why is she not in? Helping her husband.
Yeah. So she says, Tim, run away. You weren't here.
Which the two of them, especially, like there needed to be a moment of Stella seeing Tim leave.
Maybe. I don't think that she would have liked that. If she thought Tim killed his dad, I don't think she would have gone for that.
I'm not the person who I think I am. What? We're never coming back to that line.
But I'm not going to tell you that until after I kiss you.
Yeah.
Now that I've got you kissing me, I'm going to tell you, by the way, I'm a murderer. Tim runs away.
I'm going to go self-defense with Tim.
I don't think so. His dad didn't attack him.
We don't know.
He said, I had the fire poker in my hand before I knew it. Now, was he traumatized? Was he abused verbally by his dad? Yes.
The very least. Probably physically, too.
I think he has a defense.
Yeah.
But the fact that he kept it secret for 2 years and his mom covered for him, probably not going to be helpful.
And it must be horrible for all these people who said how great a man he was.
Oh.
They just,
Ruth hero worships Lord Argo.
They must have just wanted to kill him over again every time they heard that.
Yeah, because they know the truth about what he was really like.
They know the truth.
And I think he was rough on Juno, too, because she says he was a bully.
Yeah.
He was mean. He was a bully.
Oh, I totally think so.
So I wouldn't be surprised if she had been abused a bit, too.
Which I don't think Isaac was.
No.
I think Isaac loved her.
Yeah, I do, too. I think he's an idiot, but I think he's genuine.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So Tim runs away. Juno says, we got to make this look like a burglary. So she goes outside, breaks the window, and then calls for the police and then finds Francesca.
It's the worst Sacco in the world because any Sacco would have been able to figure this out. Like, where was Barnaby? Was the B team on this? Was the C team on this?
I don't know. Those people in the background at Costa Nick, they were assigned this
case.
The
sheriff of the county gets killed.
Yeah.
And they don't put Barnaby on that case.
Maybe he was on vacation.
Maybe.
Right? Okay. Then 2 years pass. Francesca moves her finger.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Right? Barrett, her son, goes running around saying, my mom's awake. My mom's awake.
Phones Juno.
Phones Juno, but Juno sees him running around looking happy because she's stuck in traffic. So she goes in, unplugs Francesca, pulls the ventilator tube out of her throat, shoves a comic book in her mouth to shut her up because she would have known who the killer was.
Yes.
Because Juno thinks Tim hit her too.
I don't know.
She must.
Maybe.
Because she doesn't know about Isaac and his good character judging horse.
Yep. She has to
She
assume.
must think that Tim hit Francesca too.
Yep.
Right? Like on his way out, he whacked his aunt in the forehead and then ran away.
With his horse hooves.
Yeah, well, you know.
Boys do.
He's been cosplaying as a human all this time. He takes his gloves off and he's got hooves in the front, right? Those gentry, you never know, inbreeding.
I'm not the horse you think I am.
So Juno, as a mom, thinks her son killed his father and put his aunt in a coma because if she wakes up, she can say, I know what happened, right? So she's got to go. And then Barrett
figures it out because of the kerchief.
Figures it out because he sees the handkerchief that Juno had that she used to wipe off the plugs for the ventilator.
Yeah.
And he recognizes it and says, I know what you did.
Yeah.
So then he's got to die.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. It's so confusing.
And then she doesn't like the step sibling on step sibling action. And so
That's not why she needs to kill Stella, because Stella helped draw the comic and Stella's been listening from the supply room and Juno thinks she knows.
Yeah.
So she's got to go.
Yeah.
She's not very thorough at killing Stella.
No.
Like she tasers her and then doesn't even bury her alive completely.
Well, the gravediggers are coming back.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Doing their little moonwalks in the back.
Yeah. They're like, do, we're so cool. No, she gets run off by some cosplayers running through the cemetery giggling in the background. And so she doesn't do a thorough job of killing Stella, I guess.
Yeah.
So who's the most at fault? I mean, it's got to be Juno because she kills basically in cold blood, dressed as GarGhoul.
Yes. And Tim...
Where's she keeping that costume, by the way? Like in her bag, a mask and a big black cloak that she can just whip on at any time.
And
it's a great strategy because there's a bunch of people dressed just like that.
Yes.
It's a perfect cover, right?
It is
That's
the
smart.
perfect cover. But yeah.
I mean,
I want to see her with the mask like half on.
Yeah. But I mean, it's premeditated for sure.
Yeah.
It's not even a murder of opportunity because she's got a costume ready.
Yeah.
Unless she slips into the con and buys it and then goes into Francesca's
well,
house.
Murray's shop does sell costumes.
And other random crap.
That are not comic book related.
Lots of other random stuff.
Giant Betty Boop statues and a statue of Opus too.
And we also learn that the character that they've not been able to identify in the Aquidus comic is Argo, is Lord Argo.
Why is he in the comic?
Other
than
know.
To be a kerchief.
I think he's there because Barrett doesn't know that he was horrible.
Yeah.
But wouldn't he if he was his uncle?
I would think
he
so.
He would know he was horrible, right?
I think so.
I would think
and
so.
Certainly his mother would have said she was horrible.
He doesn't seem to think Francesca's bad.
No, but like, I'm sure Francesca said that her brother was horrible too.
Or was like, we're both horrible. Right, brother?
Yeah.
We're both evil, you know?
Well, she oozed stardust. I want to know what she oozed stardust out of.
Her head wound. We already covered that.
This is the best Bill scene. He does a good job there.
Yeah.
He's obviously he said, I want to do some more dramatic acting roles. What can you get me? We can get you a Midsomer. Okay. Cool.
Or I like Midsomer. I would gladly do a role in Midsomer. So. You know, I mean, he does a good job at it.
You got to be like, the thing is, as a British actor, it's like time that you got to do.
Yeah.
Right. But also, I'm sure everyone goes, were you the murderer? Because he's a big name guest star.
Yeah. And he wouldn't be able to tell anybody what the episode was about between shooting it and it airing. Right. No. So the confrontation scene, I think we get some foreshadowing of the future.
Okay.
Because Barnaby says to Tim, it's what parents do. They keep their children safe at all costs.
Yes.
And my mind just flashes back to Betty sitting there in her villain costume.
Yeah. Well, no, she's not in a villain costume.
Oh, she's in a hero costume.
Yes.
But still, Betty's missing a lot, isn't she?
She is.
Just saying.
Just saying. Barnaby figures it all out. And
Stella gets saved.
They meet at the marquee and Stella gets saved.
And
there's a poster because it's like the last scene is like, here you go, Mark. We've had this whole episode for you. And now here we go. Because not only do we get Guys and Dolls, we also get the brand new show at the Costin Theater, Laughing Out Loud. I don't know
whatever
what
that is.
And the Lost Dog is owned by Mary Fox.
How do we know that?
Because her name and phone number are at the bottom of that sheet.
But she still hasn't found him.
Still has not.
He's been gone for years, Mary.
And then,
he's not coming back.
Then they do the neat thing where they talk a little bit about fiction and Barnaby and Winter turn into the comic.
Yeah.
I think that's
I like that a lot
really
at the
neat.
very end.
Yep.
It's good.
It's great art. They do a great job. And
it doesn't really look like them, but it's close enough.
It's close enough.
All right. Best corpse. Nice corpse.
I got to go with Barrett because
he's got a giant paper guillotine in his neck.
The neck special effects for this episode are all good.
It's all necks all the time. I agree. It's really good.
Yeah.
That's who I would have picked too.
I also think a doctor would have killed him more interesting way. Like, isn't she know that if she pulls the plug, that's still not going to kill her? Like, why not give her an injection of something?
Because she can't do anything that only she could do.
I suppose.
Right? If she drugs her, then who's got access to drugs?
Yeah.
The doctor.
Yeah.
Right? She should have made it look more like a crazed comic book fan did it.
Yeah. I don't really understand why she dressed up in costume while doing that one.
Because Francesca's bedroom looks out over the con.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
If anybody saw her in there, they'd know exactly who was in there.
But what about Barrett's little hut of comicdom?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. All right. After the credits.
And how does she turn off the power selectively in Barrett's little room? Because the lights flicker, but his computer's on.
Magic. Well, he's got his computers plugged into a UPS. He's not going to let them go down in the middle of creating art. Come on.
I guess not.
You got to be able to save before it goes down.
I guess.
Please. All right.
What about best corpse for you?
Oh, it's Barrett.
And
no doubt.
I would say a close second is Stella. Like
Stella's pretty good death,
Grand.
but Barrett's best corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. After the credits, Darwin's going to make a new comic about winter.
And he's making tons of books, and Darwin doesn't do anything wrong in this episode except for maybe mine his own memories of somebody for stories, which if he's going to prison for that, they might as well take every fiction writer of all time.
Yeah, really.
And he seems to have genuinely appreciated Francesca in a way that they make look like fandom in a good way.
What? He makes her look like a druggy addict crazy woman in his comics. She's got syringes on her thigh.
Okay. What I meant was like in a fanatic way. Like
if you're fanatic about how she was a drug user and like a prostitute looking lady.
Clearly he has a different
She's
view.
like in the bathroom in the background, sprawled out like she's OD'd.
Yeah.
It's not flattering.
Strange. Yes.
But he did get her necklaces exactly right.
Poor Stella.
Yeah.
He's so screwed up.
I don't know. I don't think Timothy's going to do much jail if he does because like we said, I think he was a bit traumatized by a very abusive dad. And I think Juno's going to end up taking a lot of the heat. Yeah. So I don't think he'll be gone for long. And I think he's actually kind of a good person. I think they're fine together. So she's going to wait for him.
I also think that Isaac is not going to go to prison either.
Probably not. He's probably got connections. If it were me or you, we'd probably do a couple of years for not admitting to what happened, even though it was an accident.
But his daughter would do the same.
Yeah, again, I think he's going to take the heat off of her and not let her look bad. Murray's not going to do any time because he didn't even sell it on. All he did was buy it, right?
Yeah.
You think Xenia's going to stay running the cafe, or is she just going to be like, okay, I've got all this money, I'm out of here?
Yeah, she's going on tour with the LPGA. She's out of there. And Jerome goes on to make comics, I think, with Darwin's company.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe Darwin becomes more of a human after all this. He's a bit stuck up of himself for quite a bit.
He is, but he made like
you can still be a human.
Hundreds of pages of books and stuff.
Yeah, but you can still be nice.
No, I realize that, but this whole convention is a celebration of his work.
Exactly, which is why he shouldn't be being a jerk.
He should be more thanking of people.
Yeah, he should be more appreciative.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready? I don't think you can be ready because I have horrible movies for you.
This movie is terrible. Ha! I bet Mark's seen it.
The crowd is going wild now because they love the horrible movies.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I was spoiled by choice this week.
Spoiled by choice.
I have 3. I could have had 5.
Okay.
I picked the best 3.
Okay. And you told me you picked one that you couldn't pick because we'd already picked it.
Oh, yeah. Heather Wright, who plays Francesca, she was in a movie called The Death Wheelers.
Yep.
Which we talked about in season 10, episode 7, about a motorcycle gang being
led by a Satanist.
Led by a satanic mom.
Yep.
Oh, no. The 3 that I have for you today are much more recent than that 1973 movie. The first one is from 1997, and Nicholas Farrell is in it. He's the one who plays Isaac Starling in this episode.
Well-known British character actor.
Yes.
He's been in Midsomer before, hasn't he?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was also in Strangler's Wood. All right, so here is the synopsis of this awesome movie. Are you ready?
Yes.
An environmental activist attempts to stop a dastardly villain who imports alligators from China in order to slaughter them for their meat in the U.S.
What?
You heard me. It stars Antonio Fargas, who you know as Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch.
No, I don't know what this movie is.
You don't?
No.
The best review I read of it was titled Chinese Alligators versus the Jet Ski Assassin.
Wow.
It also has Joe Estevez, the least talented of the Estevez family, in it.
Wow.
You don't know?
No.
Gator King from 1997. One for me. Ready for movie 2?
Yes.
This is a 1988 movie.
Okay.
All right. And Gemma Redgrave stars in this movie. She played Juno Starling in this episode. Okay. She's Lynn Redgrave's daughter, by the way.
Yeah,
I
didn't mention that. I did know that.
Here's the synopsis of this fantastic 1988 movie.
Okay.
A young woman about to be married begins having terrifying dreams about demons. When she wakes, however, the demons are real and begin to commit gruesome murders.
Do you know who else is in this movie?
No. From a review, there are some impressively gory makeup effects along the way, including a splattery decapitation, a juicy punch through the skull, and an ear yanked off.
I've seen this movie, but I can't remember it.
It's called Dream Demon, and it's the only horror movies from the 1980s to reference the Falklands War. Most of the reviews say that it's a cheap British knockoff of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So.
No, I don't think I have seen it.
Man, I am 2 for 3 so far.
2 for 3.
All right. I have to say, I think this third one is the gem, though. This is the best. It's from 1981.
Okay.
And Heather Wright is in this one, too. She plays Francesca in this episode. A crew of interplanetary archaeologists is threatened when an alien creature impregnates one of their members, causing her to turn homicidal and murder them all one by one.
Okay, I've definitely seen this movie. Is it something 13?
No.
I think the poster has a big silver robot on it.
No. Some of the reviews are fantastic. These are some of the titles. I didn't love it, but I seem to hate it less than other people.
I definitely have seen this movie.
A ripoff of Alien that basically replaces the terrifying xenomorph with a mediocre short blonde woman.
Yes, I definitely have seen this movie. What is it called?
All of the music was done by former jazz musician John Scott on only a synthesizer.
I've seen this movie, but I can't tell you what the title is.
It is called Inseminoid.
Inseminoid, yes. Definitely saw that movie.
Apparently, the lead actor, whose last name is Clark, looks like he's about to start laughing in almost every scene. Like when an alien vampire is killing his colleagues, he looks like he's about to start giggling. So much so that as you go through the movie, the director obviously picked up on it and started like framing the scene so that you can't really see him. Like they only take one shot of every scene. They can't afford to do two. So if he starts laughing, they just have to cut it.
Wow.
Adequate entertainment. A one-night stand with an alien goes wrong. That's another review.
Seminoid.
It's also known as Horror Planet.
Yeah,
It was
has
released
like
as
an
horror.
egg on the cover.
No, it has a woman on her back with her legs up in the air.
Oh, yes.
Like she's about to give birth.
Yes.
Inseminoid.
Seminoid.
I am 3 for 3 this week.
3 for 3 this week.
Booyah. I win.
You can find Midsomer Maniacs, Twitter, Instagram, and email, and on the reels, because you guys seem to like those.
They're fun.
So much. We did one for this episode as a reminder. Also in the Facebook groups for Midsomer and Acorn, and the subreddit, and anywhere else you'll find Maniacs.
And what do we have for next week?
Next week is episode 120, which is season 20, episode 4, The Lions of Coston,
Yes.
which is the rugby team.
Yes. They do that awesome
Australian
haka.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stick out their tongue and
Yep.
they yell. I love that so much.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
So absolutely awesome.
Yep. We go from comic book conventions to football.
Football. No, it's rugby, not
Rugby. Sorry. Oh, no. Ooh, that's bad.
Ooh.
I don't get those two confused. It's rugby.
It's rugby. Sorry.
All right. Until next time. Bye, Maniacs.
Bye, Maniacs.
I'm sure you'll cut all that.
Yep.